Hello, this is Old School from WhatTheBuck.net. For any Bucs fans out there who have had their heads under a rock, Aqib Talib, star cornerback, is now had an arrest warrant issued, and our problems with behavior seem to be compounding. I know there's some discussion about Hard Knocks. God knows will probably be more attractive now given what's going on with Aqib Talib. I'm not going to go into the details of the story because it's all over the internet. If you follow any Bucs boards, you'll be able to find it. Essentially, Aqib Talib was involved in a shooting, an attempted pistol whipping, apparently. All of this stuff is allegations at this point, but he was at first a person of interest, and now an arrest warrant's been issued. He is cooperating, which is good. I don't know that he has an alternative other than to flee the country. But from a Bucs perspective, what this does is it takes a position where we thought we were set, which is the #1 corner spot, and really thrown it into some significant doubt. Now, the point of this video isn't going to be about analyzing the cornerback spot. We'll have a video a little bit later about that. Calico Jack's going to do another reckonings focused on defensive backs that he actually prepared before this occurred. But in combination with what happened with Tanard Jackson and the issue with substance abuse last year, I was pretty clear about the fact that I felt that what Tanard Jackson did, despite his talent, and this, it's important to note, and I want to do a sidebar here a little bit. There's a lot of posts in social media and all over the place with blogs and videos and things like that where people want to take and make sort of ad hominem personal attacks at people. I don't know Aqib Talib. As far as I know, the guy could be an amazing person who had yet another instance of anger management that may be related to some issue he has. I don't know. When I make these comments, they're not an attack on the person. Just like when I made my comments about Tanard Jackson last year, it wasn't an attack on Tanard Jackson as a person. My comment was simply this: regardless of the reason, if whatever his problem was, in the case of Tanard being substance abuse, he was willing to put that above his teammate. That was something that if I were running the show, which I'm clearly not, but if I were running the show, would have been enough for me to sever ties with him, regardless of the talent. I was very clear about that. I think a lot of people weighed in on that too. I didn't think that the organization would do that. I think Raheem and the team felt like they could bring Tanard back, and that's terrific. They felt they could rehabilitate him and get things back. I don't wish ill on him, but if I were running the show, I would have severed ties because I think as a teammate, making that statement is too strong. For me to be consistent, I have to at this point say the same thing about Aqib Talib. And in fact, when you look at them comparatively, Tanard Jackson, aside from what he did to the team, was really only hurting himself. If Aqib Talib actually was involved in this to the capacity that's been reported and tried to shoot at a guy and tried to pistol whip him, aside from the lunacy of the story, this is just a pretty significant event, an attempted murder. That is well beyond what Tanard Jackson did, and while I don't normally agree with Martin Fenley, I have to agree that we should be done with him. And I think Gary Shelton and others have weighed in. I think Joe Buck did too. I got to check Pewter Report, see what they said. I think at that point you've got to say, hey, no mas, we can't do this. But it brings up a larger question. And we make fun of the Bengals because for a long time they had a lot of problems. I think as fans and as teams, I think the quote was a sliding scale of justice based on talent. If you're an incredibly talented person, people put up with more crap from you. And really, that is a horrific standard to set. But, and we've talked about this on the show before, is it something that you would expect? Would you expect your team to put up with this kind of behavior from an elite talent? Whereas if it was a third string tackle, would you just cut them as a matter of course? Oh, forget that. I think it's really a bad precedent. Now, I think if the NFL was serious about it, which they clearly are not, like many things they're not serious about, then the behavior guidelines would be more clear-cut. And there would be some lifetime bans, right? Because in theory, they shouldn't be policing these guys. It is not a right to play in the NFL. It is a privilege. So like so many other things, if you want to curtail or curb this activity, you make the punishment severe. And it would take a level of investment that I don't think the NFL, nor do I think the franchises are willing to make, because until as fans we're willing to accept seeing the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth string cornerbacks out there instead of our #1 shutdown corner, in exchange for a more ethical stance. I don't like using the word morals because I don't want to pull in the moral aspect of it, but you don't want to have a situation where you're glorifying the activity. So anyway, I know this is a bit of a soapbox. It wasn't necessarily directly about news, but I'm not a reporter anyway. We'll let the guys who are professionally trained to do that. You guys can check out the stories. But Aqib Talib, shutdown corner for the Buccaneers. Days in Tampa may be numbered, may be over. Right now, the team can't make an official stance because of the situation with labor. There was an interesting story that you should go out and check out about whether the NFL can do anything during this period of time where there is no collective bargaining agreement in place. Is there actually a personal conduct policy that's in place that has any teeth? And if there isn't, can they go back and look at the conduct during the period of time during which there wasn't one and actually take any action, or will they not be able to? That is a really interesting discussion that I think needs to be had. But as far as I'm concerned, I would be done with Aqib Talib. We'd start looking at contingency plans, and it does change the draft board, right? Whereas the front seven was the focus, I think all of a sudden you've got to look at depth. Rondé Barber, God love him, he's playing well, but I don't know how much time he's got left on that frame. And I don't think we have enough behind Aqib. We don't have that shutdown corner. Does that mean we go after a Nnamdi Asomugha or one of those guys? Not sure. We've said we're not going to be a significant player in free agency. Then Raheem came out and said that we may be more of a player. You've got to get that corner position locked down, and with Aqib Talib's actions, we are in serious trouble. So love to hear your opinion on what's going on with this particular situation, what your thoughts are. Should the talent outweigh what's going on? I understand he's innocent until proven guilty, and we got to wait till the whole thing shakes down. It does not look good right now. It could come out as a complete misunderstanding, but with the amount of data that's out so far, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, and we're going to have to figure out what that means to the team. And then down the road, someone, Aqib Talib, ideally, since he is a grown-up, I saw a post today about, well, you can't replace the locker room leadership of a Derrick Brooks, and that's the problem here. No, these are grown-ass men. They can lead themselves. Don't give him a pass because he's young, right? He's got to own up to this problem, and it's not like it just started. So at any rate, we'll see what the fallout is. Like to know your opinion. See if you would say that the talent overrides, or he should get another pass, or we're going to withhold judgment until we find out the actual full story. That makes some sense. But when you read what's going on here, it looks pretty clear cut. What's happening is really going to be a matter of what actually ends up being the charges and what the impact is. And then the question becomes, from a franchise perspective, even if for some reason his charges don't involve jail time or whatever the case may be, is that someone you want on your team? For me, no, it's not.